Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode, what is this, 196?
196, just four to go before 200.
And we are here live with some friends of ours. And I'm Jim.
I'm Chris.
And we're Geeks On Tour. Do you think your smartphone is smarter than you? And do you have questions about your Apple iPhone or iPad or your Android phone or tablet? And how do you learn about these amazing devices?
Well, we are geeks, also known as propeller heads, who like to teach. So we believe that the best way to learn is on a regular basis, basically all the time. Learn something new all the time. And we come up with a different topic. And today I'm real excited because we have some guest speakers, and I'm basically going to turn the whole show over to them. We have known Martin and Jean for many years, and they are our go-to people if we have any questions about social media, how to use Facebook, Twitter, all those things. And they are professional teachers at this, and I've asked them to give us some tips on just how us retired or semi-retired folks might use it for our groups and clubs. So I'm just going to let them take it away. Just one comment is people who are members, we will be having a backstage pass after the show. So we will see you there, and welcome Martin and Jean.
Yeah. And
we're excited to be here, very excited. And we also want to say the special backseat members will get a link to the entire slide deck we're offering because there's a lot of information on it. So really looking forward to this, and been big fans of yours as well, and just honored to know you both as friends. Our talk today is going to be on, Jean?
Well, hello, Chris and Jim. Nice to be here to be with everyone. It's a pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. Our talk today is about how to use social media to promote your clubs and your groups. And we are excited to share some information with you and give you some tips and ideas for that. First of all, we are talking to you about social media today because, as you know, social media use has just climbed and climbed over the years. And we find today we have 223 million users just in the United States alone of social media. So that in itself gives us an idea of why we might want to put our clubs and our organizations out on social media and use that as a tool to share. So Martin, why don't we go ahead and get started here, and
I think I heard something from Chris.
Well, I just realized that a small business really isn't that much different from a club or a group as far as social media goes. And you were trying to show us how it's done this morning, I think, Jean. We sent out an email on this, and it's certainly on YouTube, but I saw you posted it in Instagram, and I said, oh, I didn't do that. So I went and posted it on Facebook. And so, yeah, these are the guys who know how to do it. Thanks.
Yes, it went out to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. I believe Jean got it on Instagram, and then I put it on 2 Facebook pages. But I've also been very active in clubs. I'm a ham radio operator, and I have way too many hobbies for one human being. So I've used it to drive clubs, organizations, and groups that have made a difference in our community to make our own community safer as well. So we're going to get to some examples. Our topic today is how to use social media to promote your club or group. And I'll give one sentence about myself. I've been self-employed since I left IBM in 95, joined LinkedIn 2004. I've been focusing on how to support small and micro businesses that have little or no marketing dollars, like a club, since 2006. And I've been teaching from Murphy to Manio in North Carolina, as well as offering keynote addresses. And I have a social media management 12-week program at NC State that is now all on the web and will be for the fall. Jean?
Thanks, Martin. I'm a digital marketing consultant, and what I like best about my job is a chance to teach and train. I come from a long background of being in education a teacher and a technology consultant. So this is where I feel most comfortable and what I most enjoy. I teach with Martin at NC State, and also with Martin and I work with small businesses across the state of North Carolina through the small business centers and do training there. So it's a pleasure to be with you today, and I look forward to sharing some information. And I agree, Chris. Small businesses and organizations have quite a bit in common. In fact, I work with nonprofits and also some groups like homeowners associations and friends who are trying to get on social media. So there's lots of uses. And as I started to say before, there are so many people in the United States using social media. It's a shame not to use it to promote our organizations.
One of the things I'll bring up here is something we aren't covering, but we had some crime in my neighborhood a number of years ago, which is what I call, just punk level crime, kids breaking in, stealing, leaving money on the table and stealing the PlayStation. And I put 250 flyers out on Nextdoor and watched that reduce within a year. So there are many different platforms. We can't cover them all, but I've seen measurable results really making our neighborhoods and communities safer with some of these, as well as enhancing our lives.
Well, Martin, that brings to mind something that happened last week with the hurricane coming in. We have some property out in the Newborn area, and our neighborhood there has an organization, a Facebook group. And with me being in Raleigh, it's a great way that I could keep up with what's going on out there with the weather and any threats to our property and all. So you're right, there are so many different reasons to use the social media and the social media groups. And this slide here, I wanted to just highlight a few things since we're talking about your clubs and your organizations. I think one of our primary goals for all of us is to build that community and to build our relationships with our club members and our potential club members, prospective ones. And so social media gives us an opportunity to generate some interaction, and it's a forum for information. It helps us to reach new members and showcase our organization by interesting people through the content that we provide. So there are a lot of reasons why you might want to continue to use social media or develop social media as a platform for your organization. Anything you'd like to add, Martin?
You got it.
Okay. Once you start considering using social media, there are a few things to think about. First of all, what are your club or group's needs, and what would be your goals for using it? Is it to communicate everything that's going on, make announcements and things like that? Or is it more to attract people to your club? So once you know why you want to use it, the next thing to think about is who are your prospective members and your members? What would they be interested in seeing on social media? And, what type of content would you be able to provide for them? Once you've thought through that, a couple other things to think about is who in your organization will be posting and how much time do they have to spend. You will want to concentrate on maybe one platform.
Martin, you mentioned Nextdoor, and that's interesting. For people who don't know what Nextdoor is, you want to say a few words?
Absolutely. While we're getting it, Nextdoor is, imagine it as the Community Watch app. Many people have seen those little things, Community Watch Safer. They're usually rusty signs with dirt on them that no one knows what they're related to. Well, I have them in my neighborhood, and I couldn't find out how they're connected. And then one day I heard somebody saying, "Oh, we found out about this event by Nextdoor." I researched it extensively because I wanted to make sure it was safe before I recommended it to my neighbor. And then we had a neighbor right next door to me, broken in, stole a TV, stole their PlayStation, stole a guitar, and literally left money on the table. And I was so upset it happened. We have 250 people in our community, and I just went to work and wrote up an article, put them attached to mailbox, so it was legal, every single house in the network, and now we have over 75% of the people on it, and it's an app and a web-based. And what I want to say is, if you're on it, make sure you go online to control the number of updates, because the only complaint I get, Gene and Chris, is the only complaint I get is too many updates, and they don't know they can go in and control it. But when the power goes out, I learn more about that, or there's an exploding sound in the neighborhood, or a puppy's lost, or there are more snakes at the park. All that is happening in Nextdoor.
Right. So this is where we were. We were talking about things to think about as you begin your social media usage or as you evaluate what you're doing in social media. So we were talking about how important it is to know what your prospective members or your members might be interested in seeing online. And then talking about, again, who's going to do the posting and how much time can they really afford to spend on this with everything else they're doing. For lots of times, this is volunteer work. So you don't want to take on more than you can handle. So starting with one channel or one platform is usually the best. And here are a few, we want to be thinking where your members might look online according to their age group, their interests and all. And so here are a few we find can be supportive for organizations and clubs: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and possibly LinkedIn, although that's a more professional level type of career-based application. So let's go on to the next slide. And one of the things that questions that comes up right away is, okay, if I'm going to spend time doing this, I want to make sure people see it. So how do I do that? And the key to being shown on any social media channels is generating that interaction and that engagement. So you'll need to commit to spending some time to developing some compelling content. And that means content that your followers and your potential members are interested in seeing. It perhaps meets a problem they're trying to solve, meets a need that they have. And you want content that people are going to click like, share, and they're going to make comments on, because that's how the algorithms in social media work. And that's what causes them to share your content more widely. So think creatively, and lots of what you hear about Instagram stories and Facebook stories are creative ways to share your content. People love educational how-to content. Something inspiring quotes still get some of the best engagement on social media. And then images and video. Video is capturing the market as far as getting attention and keeping people engaged. You'll want to be responding to comments and following and engaging with others who you'd like to follow you. And then also, as you use some of the platforms like Instagram and YouTube, hashtags are really important, but posting consistently, maybe pick your days of the week, pick your time of day so people know when they can watch for you. Those are important things. And for some folks, they like to, and they have a budget, they like to advertise. But those are all ways that you can guarantee your time spent on your platform, social media platforms, will be more beneficial for your organization. Martin, what would you add to that?
The biggest thing to understand in this is that who is going to control it and manage it when you set them up. Make sure you've got somebody that understands enough and is willing to pass it on to other members. Gene, we've had cases where a panel or board member that they knew in advance might not always be a good alignment, then was on it, didn't set up equal authority on different platforms, left on a bad note, and then they hijacked their entire platform. So understand, setting these up even's critical. Mm-hmm. You think through who's going to do it, what are the ground rules. I don't mind them claiming the Twitter and YouTube if they don't use it, so they grab their name. But the initial setup's very important. And Gene, you and I have actually done consulting with groups on how to set it up properly. And we've seen train wrecks where they don't have a policy. So remember, the initial is just don't say, hey, I'll do it, and let them jump in. If it's an important group, you want to ask, if they do it and they disappear and you lose control, how much will that cost that group or club?
Right. And we always recommend at least a couple administrators on the account, so that if one person leaves, we have another that can take over so you don't lose access. All right. So we'll go ahead and let's take a look at some of the applications and in detail here. And I think we'll go on to the next one. I think Martin and I both would agree that Facebook would be a really good fit for most of you with your clubs and your organizations. Facebook right now has about 70% of Americans are on there, and users over 65 are actually the fastest growing demographic group that are on Facebook right now. About 60% of who the boomers are on there, and 80% of millennials. So it has wide access. You do hear that the teens and the really younger people are not using Facebook Facebook as much, so it depends on who your audience is. But this is almost 50-50 with female and male participation, and it has just a large number of applications that you can use that really facilitate your club and your group events and meetings. For instance, you can do Facebook groups, create events, have live video and video watch parties. You can establish video conferencing rooms now, similar to Zoom, like we're using today. Facebook Messenger offers chat types of messaging, both with video or text chats. There are business pages and ads that you can do. Also, there are a lot of alternatives for you to use with your group. So that's a great starting place. And there's a little image there on that slide of the initial create a post window, and you'll see a lot of those different options like watch party and some of those on there that you can, that's where you would start or create some of this. So if we go on to the next slide, we can talk about just a little bit about the difference between a page and a Facebook group. Most of you on Facebook probably created personal pages when you got started. Maybe some of you have had businesses and have created business pages, but pages then are your most public-facing portion of Facebook. Although you can set your personal pages to have more privacy, but that would be your public presence for your organization, and its purpose is mostly broadcasting to large groups and to many. Administrators there are the ones that post the content, or editors, you can designate editors. And there you can do, on your pages, on your business pages, you can do ads, and you see insights about who's coming to your page and when they're coming and when they're looking at it. On the other hand, if you start a Facebook group, those are meant for small group communications and for forming better relationships and connections, more personalized connections. Those can be public, which means they're shown that they're visible to everyone. Everyone can find them in search, everyone can join, and everyone can post. Or they can be private, which means they are still searchable, but people must request membership and you must allow them to join the group. And then once they're in the group, they're able to post. And then finally, there's the hidden version, and that is that you would have a private group where you control the membership, but it is not found in search. So there's 3 options of ways that you could set up your group. I know, Martin, most of the groups I'm in have been private groups where you have to be admitted to the group. Is that what you find for the most part?
Yeah. The biggest thing is you generally want a gate and not just let anyone in. And you also want to have some questions they have to answer right up front to come into your group, so you can screen. And even then, Gene, we manage several. You're on one of them where we still get people that look like they might even be fake people on it. So understand that's it. The big thing to know is if it's really a secret group and completely unlisted, then you have to either be connected or if the email they use on Facebook to connect to them. And that's what we have for the social media graduates. Very important to know that's harder to manage too. So it's a give or take. The last thing I want to add on this is I like to primarily set up the group off a page. So if you've got a club page, first build it off the page. Then of course the ownership of the page is managed by multiple people and the ownership of the group is also. After that, you're going to have to add some admins to the group because there's certain things pages can't do.
Right. Thank you, Martin. So the other thing I was going to mention about pages is there are several different types of pages. If you set up a page, you will generally be you will be put into what's the general page format. One of the formats that Martin and I like to use or types is called the social learning type or template. And what that allows is you to set up units actually where you can offer materials in certain units. So if you have a club or group that has some kind of progressive types of materials to work through or any type of training or things like that, you can do that. But one of the other things, both of these are searchable online in Google search engine and other search engines. And also the one benefit I think, Martin, don't you, in having a Facebook group is that members can all post. So it's not just administrator driven. So your content comes from everybody that's part of the group and it evolves as a discussion more or less. All right, so let's look at a couple other things about how we might create a group. We'll go to the next slide. All right, so when you create a group, you're going to create a group through your Facebook page. And if you look along the top navigation, up into the upper right, there's a create button, and you'll see that in that first screenshot there. There's a number of things you can create from that. That's where you create an additional page for your club. or that's where you would create your group. You can also create an event from there for your club, and we'll talk about that in a second. But once you start that creation of your group, you're asked to name the group and determine what the status is for privacy and security. And then it will take you out to that page there that you see in the upper right, where you can add a cover photo, you can add a description of your group, you can do some group management types of things, put information out there in the about section, and start posting your content. So it's fairly easy to set up, and you can invite all these different followers from your page and followers that are, part of your group of Facebook followers from your personal account as well. So that's a very easy way to set up your Facebook group. On the page before, I think I had the screenshot of setting up your Facebook page. Here you would go again to create and page, and you'll notice there are two options there. One is a business page. The second one is a community page, and that's for people who are public figures, but also for clubs and organizations. And it takes you, again, step by step through the creation of your page. You'll want to know a page name before you get started for both of these, and a group name. Maybe organize your photos in advance so you have your cover photo or some things that you want to put up there. All right, so the last thing I think we're going to talk about quickly here on Facebook, and then Martin has a couple great examples to show you, is if we'll go ahead, we want to just mention a few other things. Oh, I forgot, Martin. Yes, this is your favorite thing to talk about. Let's go to that one for a minute.
Go back to that right there. This is key. Just like Facebook pages, the people who are in your group don't see everything you're posting. And this is extremely important to understand. This is part of the algorithm that years ago was called the PageRank algorithm. They don't use that term anymore in Facebook, but over 13 years of working in all these things, you see the evolution. And what you want to understand is, if it's important that they see it, you invite people and encourage them to click notifications all posts. Otherwise, they'll see far less information. I have one where someone goes, "Well, I didn't see about this event." And I said, "We actually listed it 3 times, and I put this image up for them. Please make sure to do this, or you'll miss out on content." So education on this is critical in your group, unless it's like cute puppy pictures or something where they can hardly wait to race back and see what's been posted next. So this is key in having an effective group. You're going to have to ask and educate them on this. I have a little video, Gene, when a bunch join, I welcome to it video that from YouTube on a private link, I share with them saying, don't forget to go here and do this. And this is the information on the group and the rules.
Yeah, it's like an orientation, isn't it, for them? And a lot of times organizations post right at the top, what we call pin a post that talks about the rules for posting in terms of, some say no controversial topics, please be polite, no hurtful comments, things like that. So that's a great point, Martin. All right, so we're going to look at just a couple other options and things that work really well on Facebook for clubs and smaller groups. One that's been new in the last year or so is called Facebook Watch, and we can go on to the next slide when Chris and Jim, when you're ready there. Facebook Watch is very popular because, as I said, videos are just really rocking it as far as getting engagement and people really wanting to see the posts. And so on Facebook Watch, there's a little bit of a screenshot there to the right on the slide. You would go again to that posting area and choose Facebook Watch. And the next slide would ask you to pick which video you want to share together in a watch party. It could be one that you've posted. It could be one that you've watched previously, or you can search and find one. So if you have club videos or things that, similar to a speaker like this, or maybe you want to watch one of the older Geeks on Tour videos to talk about with your group. You would queue it up, and then you would get to this slide where you can say this screen where you could say something about it and put your message in there. You can schedule it and set a time so you can let people know on social media when the watch party is going to be. And then when you begin your watch party, all of you are watching the movie together at the same time, or the video together at the same time, and you see the comments scrolling up from the bottom on your mobile especially, but you see the comments going through, and people can talk back and forth to each other and discuss as they watch. So that's become a favorite way to do that. In the center one, you'll see an image of creating an event, and you can create a public or private event, toggling on that little arrow up at the top of the left of the box, and then pick a theme or add your own pictures and images for your event. You'll fill out the details for the event. with the name and the description and all. And then you can schedule when to have this event post be shown. And you can schedule an event on your page or in your group. And events show up then for folks in your group or on your page to see, and are public from your page if you set the event that way. So that's a good way, another good way to communicate what's going on with your club. And then Facebook finally has added rooms lately, which, because of everyone's being at home and the popularity of applications like Zoom that we're using right now and Google Meet, Facebook has put their version there, and that's a video conferencing app called Rooms that you can set up and invite people to. And you can do a video conference for up to 50 people inside that room. So that's another opportunity for your group through Facebook. And there is the Messenger app where you can communicate to groups up to 250 people as well. So one of the reasons we like Facebook, Martin, is just so many options, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Shelly, Lake Park fans is another example of there was a problem and I wanted to solve it. We were starting to see more crime at a local park that I can walk to in Shelly Lake. And I thought, what's a good way I as a citizen could help? So I created a page called Shelly Lake Park Fans. It's a Facebook page to bring positive aspects of the lake. Well, then we happened to have eagles that came to stay in our area. And I saw this photographer asked if he could put pictures. Long story short, we were able to use the page to be able to raise several $1,000s when one of the baby eagles fell, so that they could be rescued and taken care of. And now they're like 5 or 6, they're 4 or 5 fantastic semi-pro and pro photographers that donate their photos. They put watermarks on, and I just go to see the great photos in the lake right out. It's like 5-minute walk from my door. The second thing is we created a group of the people posting for background conversation. So if something gets overcharged, someone goes off on a rant, especially like right now, vulnerable to a political rant or something, we have a discussion in a private secret group for managing it. So that's where a different use of group than often thought of. The page is the main thing, and the group is really the management tool of it. Next slide. Amateur radio. I'm KI4CFS. I'm an extra, which is the highest rating. I still don't know how I managed to pass it all. But one of the things I decided getting back into the hobby at 60 years old, after taking care of parents and many things, I wanted to give back and have a commitment to helping the entire community of ham or amateur radio operators globally. So I created a page, and it's supporting ham radio. We have the links you can get to later on that, and it's at the top. And then I created a community for people learning and passing, a group on Facebook, got some people eager to help out with it. The big thing is you want to enroll others to work with you that are passionate about posting content, and you want to make sure they understand the guidelines. Like we have a rule of no political conversations in these groups. We want to take it to the technical aspect. Now, if it was a political group, that'd be different, but very important to understand. From there, I then created one that's an umbrella group for the whole state, and we are up to 800 members. This all was started literally by January. I have a YouTube channel where I'm recording, showcasing people in the community with titles someone would search for, and I now have about 400 people following that YouTube channel. Here's the secret. You may, if you're really trying to build a club up, you may have to spend some money for people to find it. I've done some paid ads targeting people in North Carolina, directing them to the club off my Facebook page, the Facebook page supporting ham radio, and it went right for people interested in amateur radio in North Carolina. So understand, you may have to put a few dollars. I've actually put probably over $100 since January, but I want to build up. I have a personal commitment to help the community. What's that led to? 400 people on YouTube, 800 in a group. I have a regular, they're called nets, if you know what these are, on Echolink. You can learn about it and join. And then I also have a group supporting people learning ham radio with a commitment I added to help veterans. So I'm just showing this can stack and move on, but you've got to build your team. We said in the team, look, politics is coming. If there's any politics that's off rail, we're just removing it. So really understand guidelines are critical. I just want to show one. Oh, quick story to add to this, Gene. I'll let you say something. I've already taken a disabled veteran in Statesville and helped him, met in the group, pass all 3 levels of amateur radio. He's an expert and he's posting several times a day on my page. Randy, great guy, and I've gotten to know him. I don't have the bandwidth running my business to do it, and he's just creating wonderful content. All I said is just stay off political and make it positive. He goes, I got it. So I'm just showing how these things can take off. Go ahead, Gene.
Excuse me. That's the beauty of groups. Using a group is that you have member contributed content, and that really helps you in terms of generating that discussion inside your groups. For those of you that haven't been a member of a Facebook group, when you're logged into your Facebook page, over on the left-hand side of your home screen, you will see groups listed, and you can go and browse for groups when you click on that group link and pick a group and join one so that you can see what it's like to be a member and to post and take a look at what other groups are doing. That will give you some ideas for your group. All right, Martin, let's see what we have next.
Yeah.
I think we're about time to wrap it up. Oh, you were going to talk about.
And here's one I'm not part of. This is one of our graduates that started the Car Lake Park Watch. They had all types of problems going on. They couldn't get the local government stuff to take action. He created this page. He created a group. It got in the media, and all of a sudden the changes started happening. So he's now got the key thing is he wasn't hostile towards them. He was, I'm bringing these attentions and we need to get help on this. And then he's teamed up with the organizations that are coming in. And I forget what the group is. It's the group that works with handling water facilities and stuff like that. And now he's made massive changes with big followings, helping his community out on it. The key thing is content engagement, people enrolled to help with it, and making it interesting and being consistent, and also having guidelines. People act better when they're clear and non-movable guidelines. Something we've learned is make the rules consistent. You've got to manage them, don't vary them, and understand you'll have some people upset with it, but when other people say you have integrity and you're consistent, they will trust more and they'll engage more as well.
Yeah. So you've had some good examples. There's so many different ways to use groups. Let's briefly talk about a couple of the other social media apps. And I know it's about time for us to end here. So there's some other platforms to consider, of course. We mentioned Facebook quite a bit, but YouTube is a great place if your organization is making videos. I know that Chris and Jim would agree with YouTube being a great place to put your content. Those of you that are in Toastmasters, for instance, that might be for your club a great place for you to put videos of the different speeches and things that are being done. But YouTube is the second largest search engine. So people are searching on there for for answers to questions and how do I do something. So if you name your videos with answers to their questions, they're going to find you, or what they're searching for, they're going to find you. Instagram, of course, is for visual content. Hashtags are really important. People search for under the hashtags to find new content. So you want to use hashtags that will lead them to your club. They can be a little bit unrelated, a little bit more general, but then go from general to specific. There are a lot of tips for using hashtags, but those are important there. Instagram is one of the fastest growing platforms. It's a good place to be if you're visually oriented. Twitter is for global reach, breaking news. It's one that's a great place to make announcements. The content goes by quickly. So the content, you'll need more content on Twitter than the other platforms to stay consistent and to keep your audience there. And then LinkedIn, of course, is your more career professional platform. It works really well for organizations and nonprofits as well. And you can form LinkedIn groups as well on LinkedIn. So it depends how formal your organization or your club is. And if they need a more professional type of exposure online, then that might be the place for them. Any other comments you want to make about these platforms, Martin, before we finish up?
The big thing is don't try to be everywhere. Know where your people are, engaged. You may get the name, so you hold them if you want to go there later, but don't try to be there. And please don't get stuff you won't maintain. Nothing makes your club look worse than you haven't posted anything on X, Y, and Z since October 5 years ago or something. I would rather you bring it down or make it private or something than you have stuff that you aren't maintaining. It's an agreement. You have to have a committee. You need to make sure there are clear rules and how you hand it off when people move in and out of the group or association. Everyone needs that to manage it. The other thing I'll just say is please don't just give it immediately to anyone says, I'll handle that, because they may go away. There may be a misunderstanding or die. We've had cases where someone dropped dead and there wasn't a backup that could manage it. So make sure all of this is being addressed. And there's one more slide we have in there. Jean, did we get the one on the website and email?
If they'll go ahead and click, there you go. Remember your website and email list. This is something you fully control.
Remember, on social media, you are the product. You are not the customer. They own it and everything. So that's why we still really like having a website for a club and an email list that you can manage. And so those are the things within the control, and make sure you have some agreement so those can't be lost or lost control over. Would you hit the next slide too?
Well, and I think you're talking about the fact that, Facebook could go away tomorrow and then you would lose all of your online presence. So
well, that's a risk of TikTok right now. They
Sure.
can lose it all, right?
That's exactly right.
I just wanted to show, this is one that often used in the ham radio group, Groups.io. It's not as good as having your own email list, but it's kind of like an email list server, and it offers a very rich free version. So I did want to introduce this, and this is one I'm going to set up for the North Carolina Amateur Radio Operator Group, because so that I can get words out directly to the group without having to pay or manage another thing. So that's just one more we wanted to show. I think we have another slide in there if you'll go to it.
I think we're just finishing up.
Yes.
There you go. Our final word.
Yes. If you aren't passionate about sharing your club or association, then why should anyone care about it? Let your passion out. It's amazing how many people are more controlled and reserved, and they don't let their passion out. So why would anyone want to do anything but be bored to death by them? I have a t-shirt that says, if your life's boring, it's because you're boring. Life begins outside your comfort zone. So we'll take it over from there. And thanks so much, Geeks, for letting us be on this show. And if you'll go to our last slide, if anyone needs to contact us, we'll have that, of course, in the video area as well. And we look forward to Jean, I'm going to stay a few minutes. I know you have to break to handle a client to answer in the special group, and we'll give a link to the slide. So
yeah, I'll join you for a second. As you can tell, Martin is my more passionate counterpart here.
And Jean's the accurate one and researcher.
Thanks for having us.
Wait, I want to make a comment. Just in these days of the COVID pandemic, and that we're all staying at home and using Zoom, all of my clubs are meeting on Zoom, and because you can record that, it gives you automatic ability to make YouTube videos. What do you think about that? Should they, or?
So here's the piece. We want to balance a sense of urgency to participate over making recordings. Because if it's important that we have numbers show up, I'm not always for just guaranteeing a recording, you see, because then you'll go, I'll just watch it later and not show up. So you have to decide what the goals are to decide which to do it. And we have a whole team that works together on consulting for businesses on it. But sometimes you want to create a sense of urgency, kind of like your course, Chris, you offered the Zoom course that was for people who paid to do it. And then you might make that behind a gated area or for members only or something like that. So don't just always assume we'll make it available later.
Well, and one thing you can do is have a private, one thing we could mention is you can have more or less a gated Facebook group by limiting your membership and offer extra bonus types of items to your followers inside that Facebook group. So you could, I suppose, put the video in there if you're trying to add some, kind of add on a value. Or sometimes I take little clips, Chris, of the Zoom recordings. You could take little clips of it and offer those as content without necessarily causing people not to attend, right? So.
Well, it's just interesting, especially with Toastmasters, because Toastmasters is public speaking, and some people give a speech that is so great. And really, being able to post that brings more engagement to the club.
Well, it's nice to that automatic. Oh, I'm sorry, Martin.
I just want to say, it's not I'm against it, just what is our goal? In that case, they want a record. They want to share it usually, and you're giving them that option.
And it also puts a great face out there for the organization for people to see. So that's a good promotional type of aspect to that too. Look, what great quality speakers we have in our group and how people are practicing and learning. So it depends, like Martin says, with your goals, but it's nice to have that access to the recording in Zoom to have that option.
All right.
And then post the notice about it in Twitter and Instagram but definitely
get it out there. You got it.
As many as you can manage well, because of the consistent, you need to be consistent in order to grow and engage your audience. And without that, you aren't going to have the following to pay off, to make it worth your effort. So,
one more thing I want to say about groups and associations. I'm a big advocate of using transparency to create integrity. What I mean is often having like a Google ledger sheet of who agrees to do what over time, and then you could mark it out, and Gene teaches people how to do this. It could be red or green if they do it or not. The big thing is what we need is people will generally keep their word when other people know that they haven't. And if you make it fair and let it out there in the group, it's not like the world sees. This is key in a group because we've got to get who's in charge of collecting the content, who's in charge of managing it, who's in charge of vetting if it goes online, all of that. That can be just a few people or one person. But if you have more than one person, how are we going to create accountability and integrity and consistency? And even in small groups, this is important. So that's where we all know if Bob didn't do what he said, or Judy. We all know if I didn't do what I said, or Judy. And an example of that is using Google Sheets and being on a mark. You can go in and mark red or green with completed or not.
Yeah, I think another aspect that Martin likes to talk about too is being a reporter, act like a reporter and capturing what's going on. And a lot of times people are at events and no one even takes a picture. So getting in the habit of being a photographer and being a reporter, so you have that content for your club. Have somebody be a designated picture taker, somebody be a designated, person to maybe go around and collect some information from people that are participating, so that you have a message to communicate, because generating content can be a challenge.
I say if it's good and it happened and we didn't capture it on photo or video, 0 points. It's one of my statements to groups and associations.
We make it sound very overwhelming, I think. And I think everyone has to find that comfortable starting place and, just go out and play with it a little bit or join a group, see what's going on with the group, see if that's something that looks like it's good for your organization. Look at pages that clubs have. I know I'm part of the PBS book club, which has, I think 60,000 members. So it's not really an intimate discussion group, but it's been a great way to see how people interact in a club. So there are things like that that you can do.
I know that I have certainly enjoyed the group that we 3, 4, and a few more belong to, that we talk about technology every week, and that has been on Zoom and Facebook, and it's a great way to coalesce a group of people. Well, we're gonna call it a day here, but we now go to our backstage. So all of our premium members, you have been sent the link, or you can get it at the member login at geeksontour.com. And I know Jean said she might be able to join us for a few minutes, but Martin, you say you can be there, right?
Yep.
All right.
I'm looking for that link right now. Thanks again for having us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
All right.
Well, it's been great having you both. I appreciate it. And we'll see you in the backstage pass. So that's pretty much it for us here. I'm Jim.
I'm Chris.
And we're Geeks on Tour. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See ya.